What the fuck?
What's up?
No.
Yeah. So this is it. Boom, boom, and then a little bit of that.
Let's do that again, right?
Yo, what's up, brother? Oh, it was good to see you. Hey. And then there's the dab. We dabbed once. Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes now we're in an era of the dab. Instead of the whole oh, and then it became the oh, and then it was this and that, and now you can just be like swag. You just give it a little.
Right, let me try that.
Let's see. Hey. So when would you say that like you first either encountered my music or just my name, like had first heard of me?
It was an email out of the blue, out of the dark depths of space.
Okay.
So in my inbox, there it was, and just said Logic. And I promise anyone who emails me that I will reply eventually.
In some fashion.
Eventually. So I finally got back to it and checked with my nephew, and who is this and why? And he said, oh yeah, that's Logic. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, but I can't wrap my head around it now.
Yeah.
And so I just put it back here and then it kind of stayed on the back burner. And then...
And I think the big part was, it was actually me. So I went through my agency at the time to get your information. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is there any way? Because on my last album, The Incredible True Story, it's like a very grand intro, like this, and it just sounds like space. So in my mind, I was like, how incredible would it be if you could speak just as a, just your awesome voice kind of over this as an amazing intro to this journey, this sci-fi epic.
The weird thing is I don't even hear my voice. I don't even...
Well, we hear your voice, and we thank you for your voice.
No, I don't even, who hears your own voice? Nobody, you just talk.
That's true, but I can say a lot of people admire it. Okay. And I think a big reason why people admire it is simply for the fact that when you speak, you don't make people feel dumb. And that's a big deal. Like they can really comprehend and understand what you're saying. And that's why I wanted to go with your voice.
Well, thanks for noticing that, because there's a difference between talking at someone and speaking with them. These are two different exercises. And so one of them is, well, you don't know and I know, so just shut up and listen. Okay? And the other one is, you are curious and you're learning, and I have a way where you can learn this so you'll know it as well. Wow. And when you know it and know why you know it, then you don't have to reference me ever again, because you take ownership of the knowledge. Yeah. You can then share it with someone else. And they'll say, well, how do you know that? Well, it's because A goes to B, and this has the cause and effect. But if your answer could only be, because Tyson told me, that's not, I failed. You want to somehow get that inside you, and then you raise a notch in your knowledge, enlightenment, and wisdom, and insight into the operations of the world.
Oh, goddamn. That's pretty gangster.
Yeah, so I was flattered to be considered for this. And by the way, I have a really soft spot for artists. I think the material that inspires artists is the fabric of the soul of civilization.
Wow.
Think about it, because we all just function at, the rest of us just go to work and come home. And artists make life bearable. They give perspectives on things we never knew you could have. They bring joy. They explore inner human emotion, and at its best, the full dynamic range of that emotion. And if an artist is reaching for the universe as a source of creative muse, then I'm there. I'm going to say, yeah, here's Saturn, here's a black hole, here's twisted space-time. Talk to me. What do you need? What do you want? And I'll just feed you. Because I think only then does science become mainstream. When science becomes a legitimate topic for artists.
Well, thank you for answering my call, and I really do appreciate that. Because I was just a little nervous because when I had, kind of come to you with this whole story about this guy who's lived essentially everyone's life ever and this and that, I just wasn't sure how you would take it, and I actually love that you were just so open to it. Because it's almost like a fun sci-fi, like science fiction take on existing. You know what I mean? And so, that's what's cool about it.
Here's the thing. If you're going to reach for something philosophical, scientific, my requirement that I place upon you is a quote from Mark Twain, where he said, "First get your facts straight, then distort them at your leisure."
Wow.
And so in the project that you brought to me, that all came out of you, there was enough there that was fundamentally true, that where you then took it was the full expression of informed artistic extension.
Wow, man.
Because it is blatantly embarrassing if an artist is trying to do it, but they didn't actually do their homework. So the person who has lived all lives and has experienced all emotion and experienced birth and death, and that is it's an interesting psychological state that was surely worth exploring, and I was very happy to be called upon.
Well, thank you.
Let me ask you something, because I'm not in the biz. I'm just a scientist.
Okay.
So, do albums still have meaning as concepts?
Bro.
If you could just go online and pluck this song and that song, where is the concept anymore?
You have your J. Coles and your Kendricks and your me's and your chances and your people out there who really love not just hip hop, but music and the culture and people in general. And so when you have artists who appreciate and love music so much that they actually take the time to create a concept, like that is a very special thing. And to say that we're the first artists to make concept albums or no, obviously not. But we're in an age where it's dying. So
this is what I'm asking.
No, and so for me it's like, because it's all interconnecting with me and all my albums. So it's like, I was inspired by the writings of Andy Weir, and then through reading, his writings.
Author of The Martian.
Yeah, author of The Martian. I was like, how can I push myself? Because The Incredible True Story, which was my last album, is about these, in the year 2065, the last human footprint is left on Earth before ascending to a space station called Babel, where two men are seeking a habitable planet called Paradise. So yeah, it was crazy. And I don't know how it kind of came together, but it did. But a huge part of it really is you, and you need to understand that. Like,
Are you saying my participation was a fundamental part of this album?
Yes, without question.
You couldn't just get people lined up in the voice line.
Yeah. I mean, but I could have, but it wouldn't have been the same thing because of who you are to culture, your culture, and who I am to mine. It's very important that we come together to educate the masses.
Cross-pollinate.
Dude, yeah, it's real, but that is a serious thing, you know. Think about how many people are watching this right now, have no idea who the hell I am, and love you, and vice versa. People who might not know, and they're more on the hip hop or the musical, or very young and don't understand or whatever. And it's so incredible that we can just educate people together. High five, hey, right there, boom. And a little swag juice. Come on, put it on.
Swag juice.
I don't know
That's
what
a
I'm
new
saying.
one.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Way to go right now. So, dude, you haven't had a hit single. What's wrong with you?
I don't give a shit.
That's the answer.
I think that's what it is.
Because let me remember, the first concept album I ever knew of, it was Marvin Gaye's What's Going On.
Wow.
Okay? And I remember first playing that on my record player, and one song just blended into the next. And I remember, at the time, I was, a few years later, I was tutoring at a prison up in Massachusetts. And one of his name was Carlos, I remember. And we would just talk. When we weren't doing academics, we would just talk. Wow. And his favorite album was What's Going On? And he couldn't stop talking about it. He was moved by the music in this concept album. And from then on, I couldn't shake the idea of a concept album and how important they need to be. Because a musician, you can't tell me, I've got this message I want to share with the public, and it's 3.5 minutes long.
Yeah, no, that's real.
That's not.
Wow.
That's not it. That if your message is only 3.5 minutes long, we got nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
Because life is more complex than 3.5 minutes.
I agree.
So I'm delighted to learn of your sort of philosophy towards this.
When I started creating this album like 2 years ago, it was before my other album was even out, and I was writing. It just so happened to be that a lot of the subject matter that I'm discussing on this album, which is the fight for equality of every man, woman, and child, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, and sexual orientation, because I believe that we are born equal, but we are not treated equally. I'm just here to say, like, just be a good person, you know what I mean, and really respect others. I'm proud to be biracial, you know, and there's a lot of people that say things like, oh, I don't see color, you shouldn't see color, and I completely understand that, but I think different is beautiful, but I think our differences shouldn't separate us. And for me, in this era, in this time, and everything that we're going through, my whole thing is just about unity, man.
Personally, I have a highly unorthodox view of life.
I'm with you. No, that's like, I get it, trust me.
Okay, so I don't know if you ready for it?
No, I'm ready.
You sure? Are you seated?
I'm 100. Clearly, I'm literally ready to learn.
Okay, so if you go back far enough in the history of our species, you can find a common ancestor between any two people. We have 7 billion people in the world. Every person has 2 parents, and every one of them had 2 parents. And every one of them had 2 parents. If you keep going back, that's like trillions of people in the world.
Insane.
But in the past, there weren't trillions of people in the world.
Yeah.
So how do you get trillions of total parents, but only have a fraction of the population you have today? The family tree of humanity is converging. If someone asks you, well, what are you? Typically implying what is your ethnicity or whatever. What we do is we say, okay, I'm Irish. Well, where were you born? Born in New York. Where were your parents born? Oh, they were born in New York. Where were their parents born? Oh, they were born in New York. Well, where were their parents born? They were from Ireland. Well, you're 3rd generation American, you're American. They went back through time, found a place that they decided they wanted to put forward and declared that that's what they are. It turns out that point is completely arbitrary. If you're going to do that, go back even further, and if you do, everyone is from Africa. But why didn't you take it to Africa? Why did you stop in Europe?
Yeah.
They want to find out. Typically, they want to know if there's like royalty or some famous person, and I have an active disinterest in my genealogy. Why? You might ask.
Why, Neil? Why do you say that?
Because I am genetically connected to everyone on Earth. If I want to find out what I can be in life, I'm looking to everybody who ever lived. The genius of Isaac Newton, the courage of Joan of Arc, the social morality of Martin Luther King. I'm happy to absorb all the creativity of humanity and then cherry pick that for what excites me and let that be what I become in life and not be constrained by the accomplishments of someone who is in my exact lineage. You have complete control of your life. Fuck the genetics. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's real.
Fuck the genetics. You are in control of your life.
That's how I feel about being a child who was raised in a household with narcotics and alcoholism and all that. People always ask me, they say, what would you do if you weren't rapping? And I say, I'd probably be dead or in jail, because it was in my path to sell drugs and to run the streets and to
Easy pathways. Right in front of you.
easy, exactly. Those were the things. And I actually have a song on this album called Most Definitely, which is like an homage to Most Def. It's Damian Lamar Hudson, who I featured on a song I have called Black Spider-Man. And he left everything in New York City, got evicted from his house here because he didn't have enough money, lives now in Inglewood, and dropped everything to come work on my album. Everywhere he applies to is asking for years of experience, and it's like, well, how can you have years of experience if you're just coming out of school? You're like, how are you? You know what I mean? And it was so easy to just steal or rob or sell drugs. You know what I mean? And like, I just saw that, and I just knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right. You know, I've run around with guns and knives, and I did the most dumbest, stupid shit. And thank God I never took anybody's life, or I never did anything that I look in the mirror and truly regret. Thank God. Thank you so much. I swear, man, without the drive and without the possibility, just the possibility of being able to truly be happy and chase that dream, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. And
consider the oft-told story. You have an immigrant first comes over, so first generation immigrant. They come in, they're young, and they sell bread on the corner or newspapers, and they struggle, and then they get married, and then they have a kid, but they're struggling the whole time.
Yeah.
And they have to skimp every now and then. And he rises up and then starts his own business, and then the business is successful. And then he gets wealthy and buys a big house in the suburbs, and says to himself, I will make sure my kids never suffer the way I suffered. I will not allow that to happen. So then they have kids in the suburbs, and the kids don't struggle the way the immigrant did. And then the kid ends up a complete deadbeat.
Yeah.
And then they say, why aren't you ambitious? I gave you everything I didn't have.
Yeah. I think that's why, right?
That is why.
That's why.
That is why.
Yeah.
The person who was successful forgot that they were successful because of the failures that they overcame.
See, and people will ask me, they'll say, well, what would you do if you could go back and talk to your younger self? And I always say, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I'd tell him, too bad you didn't make it. So he'd work even 10 times fucking harder, you know what I'm saying, to like do it. Because if you go back and you're like, oh yeah, you're gonna be an astrophysicist and everybody's gonna love you. It's like, no, you know, you gotta fight, you know. So
I think we are all the sum of that which has happened in our lives. And if you're successful, it would be wrong to think that you'd be more successful had something been easier.
wow.
That's not a given.
Yeah. But where's the drive, right? If it's easier, then why is it, you know, why are you compelled? Mm-hmm. And like, if you want to talk about 10,000 hours, I've put like so much time into writing lyrics and understanding rhyme schemes and
I would
patterns.
say that a little differently. I would say whether or not you perfect it,
mm-hmm.
you can always get better at it.
Do you think perfection in craft is even possible? I think chasing perfection is the fun part about it.
I agree. I think mathematically, there are certain proofs that are just perfect, and there's nothing you could just leave it alone and work on something else.
In art?
No, in math.
Okay.
Yeah. In math, there are some things. So, are you going to go up to the Mona Lisa and say, you know, I think it needs some extra? You're not going to do that. You know,
well, I mean,
there's certain works
if they had
of art.
Twitter back then, they would do it. But anyway, sorry, continue. I apologize.
I took another look at the Mona Lisa recently. Mm-hmm. Forget the hair that's on her left shoulder.
Yeah, I know.
This is hair.
You know, that's what inspired. I went to the Louvre last year, and I was on tour, and I was in Paris for a show, and I went to the Louvre, and I saw the Mona Lisa, and everybody's looking at the Mona Lisa through their cell phone screen, and I was and I was like, I know. Just what are you doing? So I was like, I'm not going to do that.
The Pope is going by, and they're looking at the Pope
it's
through
crazy.
the thing.
It's insane.
What are you doing?
But that's just where we live. We live in a world where like, hey, did you see it? Let me show you. But it's like, I refuse to do that.
Some memories are best absorbed through your eyes in real time, even if you have no record of it later, because then you can access that memory and how you felt in that moment. If you're looking at your cell phone screen taking a video of something that is otherwise unforgettable, watching this later will not recover the emotion you would have had you witnessed it directly.
That's a real thing. And so when I went and saw the Mona Lisa, I turned around and I said, everybody's here for this. Everybody's at the Louvre right now for this one painting. Hey, Da Vinci, crazy, good job, bro. Awesome. But there is so much other incredible, beautiful art. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna look for something different. And I turn around and that's when I see the wedding at Cana, right? Which is what inspired my album cover.
The album cover.
And I see that thing and I'll never forget. I looked at it, there's over 100 figures.
Are you telling me we all would have been in the Mona Lisa had this been reversed? Had everyone been looking at the wedding painting?
I know, right?
I'm gonna look at something different.
And I
turn around and look at Mona Lisa.
And it would have just been me like this.
We'd all be chilling with Mona Lisa.
I know, true. That's real. But yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Being able to just be inspired and live in the moment.
Can I tell you a quick Louvre story?
Oh, please.
My first time there, I've only been there like twice now, but my first time, so there's the Mona Lisa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go in another corridor and there's a painting of a black woman, okay? There aren't all that many black folk painted in the Louvre.
I know.
So, do you know the title of the painting?
No.
Black Lady.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm completely
No
serious.
way.
Yes,
What's
way.
Do you remember the time
Completely
period?
way.
You remember
I wrote it down. I'll dig it up. I'll dig it up.
But are we talking,
the
the time
painting,
period, are we talking
it was
like
Dutch.
15,
It was Dutch
16?
painting. It was Dutch.
So what year?
17th century.
17th century?
Yeah.
It's a black
Yeah,
lady?
just a black lady. And I thought, damn. Couldn't put the woman's name on.
Yeah.
She's not in. So she was a subject of the painting because she had dark skin.
Wow.
Not because she was a person whose persona would then be manifest on the canvas.
Well, do you think the person who painted it thought, wow, how beautiful is
I
this
think
woman?
in the day, in all fairness to the moving scale of morality and progressiveness, I can believe if someone told me that that painter was progressive for even making a black woman a subject. Yeah.
It's crazy. But you know what's so funny? That's where, I mean, look, you take it back to the 1600s, that's still where we are today. It's like, oh, that's the black guy, or that's the this, or that's the that. It's
I'd
like,
still rather be alive today than the
I'd rather be alive
okay?
today too. I'm just saying.
Let me make that clear.
It's still all about labels today.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing. It's like, you're
again,
this, or you're
again,
that.
my label is all of humanity. A quick little historical note about the word mankind. So man, as a prefix there, is actually traceable to the fact that we have hands, and it's from manual. Okay, that's where a manuscript is a handwritten object. Later on, when we invented the typewriter, so to say mankind literally referred to the species that has dexterity with hands.
Insane.
And only when anthropologists got loose with the term, got sloppy with the term, and started composing sentences like, when man emerged from Africa and wandered through the, Europe and Asia, he would take a woman. Well, in that moment, man means human male to you, rather than all of humanity. And so when that started becoming part of how people were discussing it, then you had to do something about that.
No, completely.
Right. And so humankind is a better bet in modern times. The Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. That men could realistically be interpreted as all humans, even though women were not explicitly identified as voters or anything else. The way man was used by anthropologists was all of humans.
Crazy.
In the day.
This dude.
Because that was the day of anthropology, the 16th century, 17th century.
Insane.
That's all. Just want to say that.
Why, thank you, brother.
Be ashamed to die until you have scored some victory for humanity. Horace Mann.
Damn, that's pretty gangsta. Who's Horace Mann?
Educator from the early 20th century.
Yo, let me write this dude's name down real quick. Hold on.
There's a school, Horace
It's
Mann,
a big deal.
up in Riverdale in the Bronx, named after the guy.
Horace Mann?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Thanks, Doug.
I long for civilization to develop a level of science literacy so that we can become better shepherds of our future on this planet.
Damn. I don't know how to follow that. It's like the Stones just played and now I gotta go on. Man, I just hope everybody can get along, man. I'm gonna keep it.
Get along.
Can't we just get along? That's it. I just hope everybody can just get along.
Complex